Good morning. I had the opportunity to interview actor Jan Dalton for the play 12 Angry Men. It was produced in January 2016 at the Old Town Playhouse in Traverse City, Michigan. There have been seen 187,854 video views on YouTube seen since the year of 2016 on the whole documentary video. And it was a masterpiece of theater. And actor Jan Dalton played his role as being a Harvard professor for 20 years throughout the whole time of the play.
Juror number 4. This role is played by Jan Dalton, someone that I've known for many years here at the Playhouse, someone with an extensive theater background. He studied theater and performing arts in Los Angeles in college. A great fund of knowledge about classical plays, foreign plays like Moliere. He directed a couple of Moliere plays that I was fortunate enough to be cast in, and I'm always impressed by Jan's familiarity with all aspects of theater. As an actor, he strikes a very noble and imposing picture, and as number 4, who is played Number 4 is a financier, like a stockbroker, and a very arrogant, pompous, self-confident guy who's one of the holdouts about the guilty verdict, and he says that he sticks to the facts. Jan is just wonderful at presenting this kind of character, someone who is unflappable, someone who everyone looks to as a believable person, someone you should give respect to. And Jan can project that on a stage without even having to say a word. So I would certainly like to hear from Jan about his feelings as to how he approaches number 4 in this show. So here's Jan Dalton.
Hi, my name is Jan Dalton, and I'm playing juror number 4 in 12 Angry Men. It's a production that we're doing right now at Old Town Playhouse. I auditioned for the part back in, I guess it was November, when we had open auditions, and the thought was that it might be 12 angry jurors. Unfortunately, we were able to get 15 to 18 men that would cover these parts. As I prepared, as I always do for auditions, I looked at the script and I looked at the parts that were most interesting to me, and the ones that came to mind were juror number 4, juror number 3, who is the last holdout to the end of the play, and also juror number 10. I found juror number 10 particularly interesting because he's such a bigot. I believe in so many of the things he says, but he just goes about it the wrong way in getting his points across. But juror number 4 was also one of my choices, mainly because, again, he is one of the last holdouts in the play, and he's an interesting character that way. As far as creating a biography for this gentleman, I have various acting sheets and stuff and worksheets that I use, and I created a character for him. I looked at the film, obviously the one in '57 with E.G. Marshall playing the part. I also looked at the one that was done earlier in '54, I think it was, the teleplay for Westinghouse Theater, which I found fascinating in that they had to do live theater. I'm pretty sure they didn't have any cue cards or anything like that around them. Robert Cummings, I believe, was really the star of that show. He played juror number 8, I believe. 8 is 8 the main one, or 7? I'm not. I get them confused. No, it was 8. But at any rate, I created a character for him. I found it very interesting to go into the details of a stockbroker in the 50s and learning about what the stock market was like back then. I created a character for where he was from, going to school at Amherst, getting an economics degree. It was a lot of fun just to do backstory for him and give him a name, which was actually a task that the director had us do for all our characters, but then don't tell anybody about who you are because we were supposed to be anonymous on stage.
This guy never said he had seen 66. It's a joke.
Well, what are we going to do about it? Can't we break it somehow?
Those 6 son of a bitches are never going to change their minds.
5 of them already have changed their mind. There's no reason why they can't be persuaded to do it again.
How?
Just by using logic.
Logic.
Hey, now just you listen to this man. He's the only one in the room.
You know my opinion?
Go ahead.
I think we ought to quit.
Now what the hell are you talking about?
I think we ought to go in there. These people out there, all of a sudden, are like on some kind of mission or something. We're never going to get this switch. I said we go in there and we tell the judge, we're going to be here all night for Christ's sake. We tell him we're hung, and to hell with this. Well, they can bust my brains or something like that.
It's ridiculous. Look, you took an oath in the courtroom. You can't just quit.
Why not?
It's dishonest. Why don't you just vote not guilty?
I voted guilty because I think he's guilty.
Yeah, now you don't care what happens.
No, why should I?
All right, let's stop this. We're not going to get anywhere like
What the
this.
hell does he want? I gave my honest opinion.
I know.
Well, I suppose you don't think much of it either.
No, I don't.
So, again, I look for characters in a show that are interesting to me and hopefully are a little off the type that I normally play. I have played different, I can do the Duke, I can do the King, been doing that part for years, but perhaps playing an arrogant stockbroker who is full of himself and thinks he's smarter and better than everyone else was an interesting change for me. But at the same time, something I found interesting about him was some of the prejudices that come out through him in his lines and the character, but also they sort of, for me, sort of transfixed, went beyond, what I mean to say is went beyond the play itself in just the way we are. I think we have some silent racism or bigotry that lives inside of all of us. Whether we walk down the street and see someone of color and think that there's something's going to happen to us if we engage that person, or just in general, where you say you're not and you believe in equality and and yet these things come out. I know it's true, and I do an interesting thing in the play that became something that actually happened to me before, when I was accosted on the streets for some money, and a weapon was implied, and nothing became of it because I ran off. But the character number 5, I think, when he pulls that knife and shows everyone how to use that knife, for me as a character and me as a person, that really it affects that person when I see him do that, because it brings back those memories of what had happened.
That she described the stabbing by saying she saw the boy raise his arm over his head and plunge the knife down into his father's chest the wrong way.
That's right. It's absolutely right.
Now let's talk about this woman for a minute. She went to bed about 11 o'clock that night. Her bed is next to the window, and she could look out while lying down and see directly into the boy's window across the tracks. Now, she tossed and turned for about an hour, unable to sleep. Finally, she turned towards the window, and looking out, she saw the killing through the windows of a passing L train. Now, she says the lights went out immediately after the killing, but that she got a good look at the boy in the act of actually stabbing his father. She saw him do it. Now, as far as I can see, this is unshakable testimony.
That's what I'm talking about. That's the whole case.
What do you think?
Another interesting thing I found was that I was on a jury, a couple of juries years ago, and 2 things that happened in this show happened to me on those juries. One involved a juror who, after a couple hours of deliberation, had had enough and said, I want to change my vote to not guilty, or whatever the verdict was that we were working on, because he wanted to get out of there. And no one, myself included, had the courage or whatever to stand up and say, you can't say that, you can't be like that, the way it happens in the play. And also, when you're up there, you're supposed to be asked questions from the judge about if you have been involved in a murder or whatever the case is, and you're supposed to be truthful in your answers. And this was another thing where it was a drunk driving offense on a jury that I was, and one of the jurors blurted out later on in the process, oh, I had one of those breathalyzer tests, they don't mean anything, you can't judge anything for that, you cannot convict this guy because those things are fallible. And he actually had a whole court case with that, which is something that, again, bothered me and bothered other people, but no one got up and said anything about it. And I think in that case we ended up being a hung jury, which is something that we come close to in this play as well.
I now have a reasonable doubt.
The boat's 11 to 1.
What about all that other evidence, huh? All that other stuff, the knife, the whole business.
So there's been some interesting background for me, having been on the juries. Also, the fact that I love drama, and I love, this is a wonderfully written play. And honestly, I think I was a bit dubious at first about actually going in and doing this show. And it was, I think, because when I first read the script, to a lot of people it might seem a little dry and a little old-fashioned and perhaps a little behind the times. But when you actually, having gone through this process and you work on this show and you realize how well this is written with the exclamations, with opinions, and with facts, and how they're all melded together, and when that show is running, it is really a terrific show. And it's a fascinating thing that has come out of this. As hard as it was to sit down and wait your turn, because there are places in it for everybody where they have 2 or 3 pages of nothing, and then they have to interject a line. And if that is not done when it's supposed to, it just wrecks the whole flow of the show. So, but this has all come together, and this has been a tremendous success, and it's really turned out well, and I think everybody has really enjoyed it. In the cast, crew, and I think also audience members that have come to see it, everyone has come away with very positive opinions and reactions to the show, so I'm very happy with this production.